Welcome to the ACE model of emotional intelligence for peak performance. It's a good thing that you have followed through up to this point. And in the last model 7, we talked about non-verbal communication. Chief among those was or is body language, and we said body language comes in different forms and different dimensions. We tried to look at a few and how they communicate. We said body language is the silent communication. You're not saying it verbally, but your body is passing an information across. Okay, so in this model, the ACE, we're going to be looking at skills in emotional intelligence. What skills and how to perceive emotions? What skills are there in emotional intelligence, like we started with, and how do we perceive emotions? Okay, if you still remember from the first module, first and second, we talked about the skills in emotional intelligence that we described then as the components of emotional intelligence, and we talked about self-awareness, self-regulation or self-management if you like. We also talked about self-motivation, we talked about empathy, and we also talked about social skills. Okay, so we want to look at how to perceive emotions. Emotions can be either positive or negative. Okay, so positive emotions are emotions of joy, emotions of gladness, emotion of exhilaration, emotions of tears can be for joy too. Okay, while the negative emotions can be those that are harmful, like anger, hate, sadness, and all those. So how do you perceive emotions that is being sent across to you? That's what this module is going to be centered around. And one thing we should know for sure is that you perceive emotions the way you feel. Okay, so if you're feeling angry, emotions coming from others are perceived from your point of anger, because you are the recipient of that emotion, and already you are in the state of anger, you are angry. So there is every tendency for you to perceive the emotions coming from the other end as a negative emotion or as an angry emotion, because that's how you are already. So you perceive based on the way you see. Okay, your emotions would dictate how you see. So if I'm happy, that emotion of happiness would dictate how I see things. So when I see things, when I see actions, when I see reactions, I see them from the point of view of my present emotion. So my emotion at this moment is that of joy. I'm just happy. All right, and things that comes across, even though they are expected to be negative, but because there is a positive reaction already in me, I perceive those things not as hurtful, but rather from my own perspective of happiness. You know instances where people want to give you the negative vibe, and they just wonder why you are not flowing with the negativity, and you just say, and you are the one who is just wondering what's wrong with you, why are you behaving this way, because what you are bringing is positive. Okay, so you tend to perceive anything that comes, the emotion that comes, as being positive. So you choose to feel the way you are feeling. It's a choice. All right, so how do you perceive emotions? How do you use emotions to facilitate your thoughts, to facilitate the way you think? Is to look at how you're feeling and determines how you see, and how you see now determines how you feel. So I'm looking for other examples. So presently I'm angry. there are some emotions I can perceive. Now, maybe we should quickly go to perception. Perception are not usually real. Perceptions are the interpretation you give to situations or instances. They are just your own interpretation. Okay? So when someone is happy, my perception could dictate to me to feel resentful to that person for being arrogant or for pushing whatever is the source of happiness in my face, okay, for rubbing it in my face. So that's what my feelings dictated to me, and it goes along to help me to interpret the emotions and thus determine how I feel at the end of the day. So these are the ways we use our emotions to facilitate our thoughts. Okay, so perception in itself is not usually real. It is my own interpretation. Okay, so as I am interpreting that, the same person, the same scenario, another person is interpreting that emotion to be that of joy, because that's where it's coming from. That's his own interpretation. Okay, so this is how we use emotions to facilitate our thoughts. And because emotions are involved in how we think, it dictates our reaction. So if you see on the floor in a fairly dark area something curled up, more like a snake, in fact your head tells you it's a snake, so what you do immediately is either to flee or to fight. To flee, that you run away. To fight, that you get something and want to attack to kill the snake because you don't want it killing you. All right. Remember, I said it's a fairly dark area. So now you put on your flashlight, or there is a source of illumination, and you discover that it was only a rope that gave that image to you, that helped you to form that perception that this is a snake. So, having formed that opinion, something tells you immediately to run, or that thing tells you to fight. Okay, so that's what we call the fight or flight mode, or we call it emotional hijack. You know, that point where your emotion hijacks your thoughts and hijacks your decisioning. Okay, it dictates to you what to do in a certain instance. It is also known as amygdala hijack. Now, amygdala is a part of the brain, a portion of the brain at the bottom of the brain, close to the point where the spine joins, you know, the head, just at that point. And it is established that that part of the brain was far more developed in the early men, the cavemen. Okay, so that was responsible for the way they were thinking then. Now, that part is not as developed in us, but it is still resident in us. Okay, and it still dictates some of our actions or reactions. Okay, it is the rational part. It is the rational part of our brain. Amygdala hijack or emotional hijack is when the rational thinking part of our brains, you know, overpowers our emotions. And when it overpowers our emotions, it either dictates flight or fight. It either dictates fear or aggression. Okay, so it's either you are afraid or you want to attack. And this is the part of the brain that is responsible for that. And you can see this in our day-to-day activities, in our offices, between spouses, between parents and children, within a family group, between siblings, between people. the boss and the subordinates. Okay, this still comes to play once in a while. Okay, it still comes to play once in a while, unlike when the whole part of the mind is working to help us in doing our decisioning. So you hear people shout. When people are shouting, in a discussion, and they are shouting seriously, banging the tables and all that, there is a part of the mind that is responsible for that, because at that point the emotion has overtaken them. The emotion has hijacked them. Okay, that's where the emotional hijack caption comes from. Or you see someone who is trying to write a mail, an official mail, or even if unofficial, and he begins to type in caps, in uppercase letters. Now, in communication, that is assumed to be shouting. When you write a whole mail, and the whole of the mail from good morning or dear sir till the end is in uppercase, then it is assumed that you are shouting. It is interpreted that you are shouting. Okay? When people get insultive, that part of the mind has hijacked their emotions, and the emotion is now dictating insults, and they become insultive. Or when people are sulking, okay, instead of talking about it and getting over it, they keep sulking over it, sulking around it, sulking in it, and they are overwhelmed. That is when the emotions have already overtaken us. Okay, or you see people just behave rudely, slam the door on people, and a little aggression here or there. Okay, so it is when the emotions have really hijacked the mind of such people. Like the example I had given before, that you see people do certain things, and after a while, when they come to self, and you ask them, "But why will you do that?" And you say, I don't even know why I acted that way. I don't know what happened to me. Okay, if we have this understanding, I believe physical abuses and verbal abuses in marriages will reduce, if not end. From bosses to subordinates will reduce, if not end. Okay, it is us being able to be in charge of our emotions and not the other way around. We need to control our emotions and not our emotions controlling us. So there's a physiological part of our emotions. There's a physiological dimension to our emotions. So our emotions is not only physiological, it can even translate to becoming physical. All right, so I feel it first, then I express it. If you decide not to look at my face, you are even backing me. Even though my body language, non-verbal communication, is communicating anger, but because you can't see, you don't know. But there is no way I will act it out that you won't see. All right, so it can be at that level where I'm expressing it non-verbally, and it can go physical, where I bring to bear my feelings, such that people will have there will be no ambiguity about my emotions at that moment. If you see people who are fighting, you don't need any soothsayer to tell you that these people weren't happy to be fighting. Of course, they were angry. That's why they are fighting. But they could have been angry without expressing the anger. I'm not saying it's a suggestion. I'm just saying there are dimensions to it. So it can remain at that level, and it can also be expressed. It can be expressed in how we feel. For example, you've never stood before an audience before, and your superior officer or someone who has some measure of authority says you should go and speak before 20 people, before 50 people, or 100 people, or a larger crowd. Then the fear or flight emotions will come in. So it's either you want to run or you want to fight. When you want to fight, you want to face it. Okay, and say, yes, I can do it. I'll go and do it, even though I've not done it before. But when you want to flee, you just give excuses, or you don't just show, you may not even show up on the set day. Okay, so, and if you have taken up the responsibility, it won't be new for you to feel sweaty palms, to feel shaky hands, to feel the so-called butterflies in the tummy. Even though for those who are in love, they say they fly, they are feeling butterflies in the tummy, but this kind of butterfly is different. It looks like this kind of butterfly is actually feasting on your intestines. Okay, so you feel, you have these uncomfortable feelings, sweat on the forehead, you're shaky, your voice is unsteady, and all those. They are all emotional reaction to what you are facing. Okay, just like in the case of the snake, it's pretty much the same. It is still the fear factor that is operating here and is making you to behave in a certain way, or to express some things physically beyond what is internal. All right, so they're both physical and cognitive. Cognitive in the sense that it is a thought, it is going on in the mind, you're thinking about it. All right, even though your body might be showing a bit of it, but it's not yet physical. But it is established that it could be both. As much as it's cognitive, it can also be physical, and they could affect how you think. They will definitely affect how you think. So when you have that kind of feeling, like the person who wants to speak in public that I talked about, there is a possibility that is thinking about failure. He's thinking about how he's going to bore the audience. He's thinking about how the audience is not going to like him or her. He's thinking about how he's going to underperform, how he's going to perform below par. He's thinking about how they're going to jeer him. He's thinking about how they are probably going to, pelt him with bottles or whatever, how they're going to shout him down, how he's going to end up embarrassed and, put to shame. So that is that person using the emotions to feed his fear. All right, that is that person fleeing. But for the one who wants to fight, the same emotion, but he uses it, to fight. Now, the man who faced that snake, the thoughts from the emotion was that of fear. So he used that emotion of fear to run away. The other one used the same emotion of fear to fight, knowing that if I don't defeat this thing and it defeats me, then I'm a mincemeat. So he uses the same emotion to redirect his thinking. So, unlike the first person who is doing that public speaking, he has the exact same emotion. The butterflies eating the intestines, if you like, the sweaty forehead, the sweaty palms, the shaky legs. Your legs are even wobbling like you're going to fall. Like the entire billions of people on the earth are focusing on me at this time. So you're on the spot. But he now uses the same emotion to think about how he's going to nail this, about how people are going to commend him and say, you mean it's your first time? Oh, for the first time you did well. He's thinking about how he's going to be cheered and not jeered. He's thinking about how he's going to be applauded and not pelted. He's thinking about how he's going to get a standing ovation and not, being put down or shouted down by people. So he's using the same emotion, but to think differently. Okay? This way is coming in control of the emotions. The same emotions used differently to attain different purpose. All right. So those emotions could affect the way we think, like I just said. It could affect the way our bodily reactions. So the other person is fidgety even because he had all those signs: sweaty palm, forehead, shaky hand, shaky wobbly legs, and all that. So he's carrying himself to depict what he's feeling. So he's walking to the stage bowed, shoulders down, and sloppy, slouching and dragging himself. Already people see that this person is timid, this person is nervous. Okay, and if you have some wet blankets in the audience, they just capitalize on that and begin to make life more unbearable for the person. But this other person has the same feeling, but he walks to the hall with his shoulders square, with his eye up there, straight strides, confidently marshalling his carriage to the podium or to the lantern, and he starts to deliver. All right, so from the entry point, one has told the audience that, hey, I'm ready because I know you are going to kill me today. The other is walking with a kind of stature towards the audience, saying, hey, I'm here to be an impact, I'm here to nail it. Okay, so same emotions, different reactions, and of course you can be sure that there are going to be different results. So how do you assess a situation as this? How do you assess a situation? You take a step back. And when I say taking a step back, I don't mean you pace backward physically. Just try to step back a little in your mind and say, what if? Maybe that's a question we should ask more often. What if? Okay? What if he doesn't mean it? What if this is not the intention? What if this is not what he meant to do? What if I misconstrued? What if I put myself in his shoes? What if he's also going through what I had been through? What if he's going through something I don't know? What if? What if? All right? That's taking a step backward. This is the first step in assessing a situation, all right, as an emotionally intelligent person. Then, having taken a step backward, then identify the emotions in play. So I ask myself and I say, what emotions are at play here? Emotions of anger, emotions of bitterness, of envy, of jealousy, emotion of sadness, of happiness, of joy, emotion of hate, of despair, emotion of discouragement. I want to look around, in my assessing that situation to see, hey, wait a minute, what kind of emotion is playing out here? And once you're able to do that assessment by stepping back, assessing the emotions in play, then learn to appreciate the dynamics involved. We can't exhaust the dynamics that could be involved. All right, a lot of combinations and combinations of factors. So why is he angry? Okay, so I spotted the emotion of anger, but why is he angry? Could it be that what I said earlier, or what I said weeks back, or could it be his encounter in traffic? Could it be the encounter with the spouse? Could it be that his day is starting badly? Could it be that he's killjoy? He just wants everybody to be sad? Could it be that he's trying to seek attention? So we get to analyze situation properly when we're able to step back. Once we've been able to step back to assess or identify emotions at play, and then appreciate the dynamics that are involved in all of this. This way, it will help us to have a better assessment of situations and circumstances around us. This will definitely, ultimately qualify us as someone who is emotionally intelligent, or who is emotionally balanced, and particularly one who can use emotions to facilitate thinking or to facilitate thoughts, and thereby we get better and better. So we need to learn how to perceive emotions so that we are rightly perceiving, okay? So that we are rightly perceiving, and in perceiving those emotions, our body language is also a case study. You want to look at the body language, you want to look at what is said that is not said, you want to look at what he is saying that is not just about how he is saying it, that is not just about what he said. You remember we said it's not just what you say, it's more about how you say it. So all this comes together to make for a thorough and a proper use of emotions to assess to use emotions to assess and process our thoughts, and to use emotions for positive causes and positive reasons, to redirect emotions, to be in charge and in control of our emotions, so that we could be seen as people who are emotionally intelligent. That's the much we have on this model for emotional intelligence for peak performance. This is the ACE model, and I believe is being as enlightening as the others had been. So before we meet during the next module, kindly go and take the quiz beneath and assess yourself based on understanding of what we have discussed so far. Until when we meet next, keep being emotionally intelligent. Bye.